Hey there, welcome to our weekly reading. I can't believe another week has gone by and we're now heading into October with this week ahead. So we're looking at the week of September 28th through the 4th of October. My mother's birthday, so happy early birthday to her. After all, she did give life to me. Love you, Mom. Anyway, where do we start? First of all, on a lighter note, yes, I'm wearing a shirt, and you're probably wondering who I am, seeing as you've probably only ever seen me wearing a black tank top. That's what a pandemic and homebodiness does to a person, right? Especially when you live in Southern California. But I had reasons to look a little bit more presentable prior to doing this reading, so I have stayed this way, albeit with my top shirt unbuttoned. What am I trying to say here? Perhaps there's a metaphor in all of that for you. The full moon on the 1st of October. I don't know what to tell you. We are in another inward cycle. The Mars retrograde energies are now about to be countered by the Saturn stationary direct energies as Saturn prepares to go out of its retrograde. We still have 4 other planets retrograde, and we are moving closer and closer towards Mercury retrograde shadow in Scorpio. So a lot of inner dynamism would be the optimistic term for those energies. When we get into our reading, I think it's going to become clear that this is another opportunity to level up and sort of graduate from the types of emotional hurdles that we have put in place ourselves as a result of trauma programming. And it's a constant process of learning who we are, what we stand for, and how we have evolved from the point of infliction to the point of self-knowledge and reverence for life, and how those experiences serve our life path. And so much of it comes down to being in gratitude, being mindful of what we put out into the world, and being able to receive better as a result of that. And we're being tested on all of that. And that's really the only way to put it. But the cards will help us to get a little bit of insight. I will be doing a ceremony on the 1st of October on the full moon, and I will hold space for you. And we're moving into a very new energy and a new chapter. And, these last weeks leading up to the Grand Trine energies of, Jupiter and Pluto and Saturn moving into Aquarius. All of that's going to shift a lot of things for us. But, we have to be patient and understand that there's a process to all of this, and there is work still to be done. That's what we're going to get into. And personally, I feel exhausted right now. I'm not in a way of, sleepiness, but more in the sense of, there's just this inevitable sense of despair or feeling limited, feeling purposeless, feeling for all the mindfulness that we can practice and devote ourselves to, there's this strong sense of a struggle to externalize that into anything tangible. And we talked about creativity last week, and I will be perfectly honest with you, I failed to really harness the creative energy because I felt despondent in many ways. And it was in the moments when I allowed myself to tap into that creative flow that I actually transcended that. I sat playing the piano for a while. I even recorded part of my piano composition one particular day and posted it to social media. Who knows why, because I hate social media at this point, but I did. I realize that I am in the position right now where I'm doing a lot of self-analysis, so I presume that that's the same for you, and a part of that analysis is figuring out, how much of the drive in my life comes from an egoic struggle, how much of the conflict that I've experienced in my life comes from an egoic struggle, and how much power I actually have to overcome those things and to opt to not actually make them a part of my reality. Because, of course, the more we mature and the more we evolve, the more we come to the understanding that, whether or not we feel that we are righteous, and obviously therefore potentially viewed as self-righteous by others, it just does not serve to try to impose our will on others. We're all very different, and we all come from different trauma combinations. And some people are more self-aware than others, and we have to navigate life knowing that we have to hold space for other people's processes. That doesn't mean that we, accommodate them, but it means that we have to give space for others to evolve and process their journey in the same way that we've been kind enough to self-parent and nurture our inner child and give ourselves that space to evolve and grow and to forgive ourselves. And that's a huge part of what the energy has been that we've been passing through, and still quite current, is built around self-forgiveness. It's spending so much time in a culture that requires of us to be politically correct towards the challenges of others. And yet, how much do we actually adapt those philosophies to ourselves, to nurturing ourselves? And forgiveness of the self is a hugely fundamental part of this awakening energy and this moving into higher frequency energy. So take some time to think about that. You may feel that you don't have anything to forgive in yourself, but quieten your mind, give yourself a little bit of empty space to ponder the concept and see what comes up for you. And it can be something very slight, or it could be something enormous that perhaps you've even suppressed. But it's an important part of this journey, and it's an important part of the Mars retrograde energy too. because all of that inner turmoil and inner frustration, the things that we can't figure out how to express correctly to the outside world, that's what the Mars retrograde is doing for us. It's giving us that opportunity to explore our inner workings and the cogs in the wheel that need oiling or that need to be replaced. A lot of what is going on now and in the week ahead is about doing things differently, trying new approaches. However you have done things up until now, whether that be how you have made your tea or, the type of food that you consume or the exercise routine that you have, this is a time to throw it all out the window. It doesn't mean forget it. It just means if you don't like the way you feel about things right now in your life, try something different. That's not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. That's literally saying, you know what, drain the bathtub and put some more water in it. That's really what that analogy came down to. Okay, the reading. So we have 3 oracle cards, we have a Rider-Waite tarot spread, and we have 3 Oshizen tarot cards. And we will start with, I shouldn't say my favorite deck. It's literally just that the artwork is always, to me, there's so much depth to it, and it's so beautiful, and the colors are perfect, and the font and everything. So I have a special rapport with the Sacred Destiny Oracle deck, and every time we pull one of these cards, I always say the same thing, so I apologize. And I love all of these decks. But sometimes one appeals to us in a different way. So we'll start with that. Inner peace. It feels very Piscean, this card, of course. There's 2 fish. But still, it's the depths of the soul. It's self-analysis, and it's the openness to newness and to discovery and to manifesting in new and different ways. Let's see what inner peace tells us, represented by the lily pond. Simply sitting next to a lily pond, watching the dragonflies soar overhead and looking at luminous lily pads floating gently on the water while their translucent flowers open their petals to the heavens, can fill one with the sense of profound and everlasting peace. Lilies grow in many countries and have been given a wide range of meanings. However, one enduring image of the lily is the notion that out of the darkness and mud arises a thing of immense beauty and grace. No matter how much darkness there has been in your life, you can rise into enlightenment and profound tranquility. Again, we choose to replace the narratives. We choose to replace the things that don't make us happy with things that make us happy. I mean, it is really as simple as that. It's just a matter of shifting perspective and giving ourselves the permission to do it, right? The sacred landscape wants you to know that inner peace is your birthright. Tranquility occurs when you realize that your life is unfolding according to divine planning. Serenity isn't something you have to work for or search for. It already exists within you. To find this inner peace, simplify your life, spend time in nature, and listen to the message of your soul. True peace transcends fear and connects you intimately with the Creator. Breathe deeply and fully, knowing that all is well. There is a strong emphasis in this week's reading on transcendental manifestation. In other words, giving ourselves permission to rise beyond our limitations. Our Spirit Animal Oracle card of the week. We've had this before, I can't remember when, but it will never go out of style. Elephant Spirit, learn from the past. And again, when we say learn from the past, that doesn't mean repeat the past. That means look at your life, look at the things that you don't particularly enjoy about your life, or the things that are triggering or activating in your life, and see how you can approach things differently again, right? I mean, it's a common thread. So what does Elephant Spirit have to tell us? The Oracle message is, although we often wish we could leave the past behind, Elephant Spirit reminds us that memory matters. We must respect the wisdom of the elders who hand down to us traditions they have shaped to express our connection to each other and respect for the community. Community is another theme this week. What has come before informs what we are experiencing today, and we must never forget our legacy of strength and dignity. Elephant Spirit appears with the message that we are to acknowledge that which came before and learn from it. All of us are memory-based creatures, and we must revisit the past to understand where we are and where we are going. The stories of events you experience, the stories in our collective memory, and the stories of relationships you have had can be told many different ways. What story will you tell? Elephant Spirit is here to encourage you to make it one that stirs in you a sense of power and dignity, for you have honored yourself by choosing to learn from your past. Spirit rejoices at your willingness to learn and grow. And finally, our oracle, this is Wisdom of the Oracle, sorry. I have to make a confession. I don't pull from this deck as much because the stock is very shiny, first of all. And secondly, the deck feels very feminine to me. And, well, I haven't honored the fact that I am divine masculine and feminine, and from my own understanding of the teachings of the power of one, we have three spirit guides: a masculine force, a feminine force, and an androgynous force. And to denigrate any of these or to suppress any of these sides of ourselves is to be in misalignment with source, with the help that we always have there for us, given to us by our higher self and our spirit guides. So ironically, we get what I can only call an extremely feminine card this week. It's called Exchanging Gifts. It's the depiction itself. So forgive me for neglecting to use this deck, because it is a powerful and beautiful deck nonetheless. 27, Exchanging Gifts. And there are multiple facets to exchanging gifts. The essential meanings are the law of giving and receiving, currency, trade-offs, weighing costs and determining value. The oracle message is that you are entering into a productive and enriching time when all manner of opportunities are being offered to you. You have everything you need to seize them. Yet in order to honor them, you must put in the time, exchange your experience and skills, and commit heart and soul to what you're choosing to pursue. You can do it. You have what it takes to be successful if you align with the law of giving and receiving. You must engage in a dance of give and take, push and pull, doing and being. If you let fear guide your choices, you could deplete yourself or create an imbalance. This is not a time to just do. Use your currency wisely and be mindful of the value others bring to your life. And subsequently, the relationship message is, love is an exchange of life force, energy between two beings. It grows exponentially when it's reciprocated. You must give and receive in order to love to flourish and abundance to flow between you. Spirit wants you to start accepting all the blessings, waiting for you, as well as offer the same gift in return. Open your heart and allow it to be filled. Let love in and let it flow out of you too. Love is truly yours. Okay. Two things. First of all, I'm going to pause this and I'll have to edit this together because there is a cat at the front door trying to come inside. Secondly, it's a good opportunity to ponder what that actually means to us, because it's not always easy to be loving and to receive love and give love when you feel that there is inequality or that you're not being treated the way you want to be treated. And that's something we need to explore. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back and had a little bit of time to contemplate what I was talking about. Mostly because there was an infestation of ants in the kitchen, or in the laundry room, should I say, and I had to take care of them too. So maybe again there's a metaphor in that. Probably not a very good one right now because I basically killed about 100 of them. But what did come to my mind to elaborate on the issues that we were just discussing, of exchanging gifts and community and receiving and love. So much of the time we get caught in an egoic struggle where we can't actually move beyond our prescribed standards. The sort of the conclusions that we have come to from previous experiences that we see mirrors of in newer circumstances, and we don't understand that our power is to decide not to play into those prior narratives. That we, just by changing the way that we respond to somebody else or some other situation, gives us the opportunity to entirely reinvent our experience of life and our relationship subsequently. So a lot of this reading is about giving ourselves that opportunity to move beyond the restrictions of repeating cycles, repeating patterns, having expectations of things to be as they were before. I can give another example to you of how I personally have come to that understanding of, I've become very, very rigid in my expectations of other people not necessarily being able to have the same kind of psychological self-awareness and awareness of others, to not prioritize authenticity, because, obviously we've been living in an era for quite some time now where everybody curates a self-image that is not generally reflective of who they truly are inwardly. And I handled a situation with somebody this week in a way that initially I had a knee-jerk self-protecting response where I withdrew and I put up a boundary, and I basically did not think that I would express what my desire was and what my intention was, mostly for fear that I would be responded to in the way that I anticipated from prior experiences or accumulated experiences over the course of the last decade as our culture has changed into this narcissistic nightmare. And that is that I was expecting, by being authentic and direct about what my issues were in a situation, that I would receive dismissal of my feelings, that I would be told that I was oversensitive, or I would be ridiculed in some way or rejected. And the response that I got, because this is a new person in my life, it wasn't really my entitlement to project onto them the blanket statement restrictions that I have come to be engulfed with in my life. And I was met with authenticity. I was given a response that was not anticipated, but was exactly what I actually wanted. So, here's a prime example for you to contemplate in your realm. Okay, moving on from that little anecdotal portion of the show, let's get into, what should we do first? I think we'll do our tarot spread first. So I think it flows really easily, and so we'll probably move through it quite quickly so that we can spend a little bit more time reading the meaning of the Osho Zen tarot cards, because I always feel that there's deeper meanings in those that I would not necessarily be able to convey to you. So let's start with our underlying energy. I start with the Emperor, followed by the Ace of Cups, followed by the Magician. So this combination for our past energies, what we're emerging from, this is that stubbornness. This is that I am set in my ways. This is my empire. This is how I run it, even if it's a flop and a failure. I know my value. I know my path. It's tried and true. And, it's all of the typically negative aspects of the male egoic struggle that is not limited to men, because men and women exist in the same society and culture, and so therefore we've all been conditioned to have traits that are favored by the corporatist nightmarish machine, right? So or rank and file hierarchical systems that have existed throughout the patriarchal era. So this has been an anchor of doom for us in our lives. And we've received some form of emotional awakening in the form of a gift that I am intuitively feeling we don't necessarily understand as a gift, but it is a gift. So apply that to yourself. I'm not taking clarifiers on these because they're past energies and they're, it's what we're moving out of now. So you will, if this applies to you, you will already know what I'm talking about. And the Magician is that awakening within to understand the power that we have to change our narrative and therefore our experience. So that, in a nutshell, just basically summarizes everything that we've just experienced through the oracle cards, right? So it makes sense that that's what we would be coming out of, because we have to now learn how to position ourselves strategically for more openness and to embrace new experiences of love and reverence and uplift and evolution. Of course, when we go through these types of things, especially when we have to reconsider our stance, we find ourselves in this energy, which is the now. As I'm doing these cards, this is kind of where a lot of us are at. This, and again, we see these cards and we're like, holy fuck, that looks hideous. But let's not forget, we've talked about this, the Tower, we are no longer spiritually asleep people. If you're watching this, you're not a person who's asleep. So you understand that this is a life process that comes up all the time, because we need these in order to move beyond the stubborn structures that we adhere to of the Emperor, in order to level up and to have new experiences and to go on a new fool's journey. So when the Tower arises, it's because we've had the experiences and now we have to figure out what to do in order to move beyond those 10 swords. So it's not like, oh my God, now you're going to feel as though you have 10 swords in your back. You felt this. We are now in the liberation moment from that. But the only way to liberate from that is through a form of not destruction, but destabilization, I suppose, which is anything new. You know, it can be a new job, a new home, a new relationship, a new dynamic in your pre-existing conditions. You know, it's like, that's really what it comes down to. It's so that we move past this. You know, this is a new dawn on the horizon. This person may have been, you know, warped and felt diminished by energetically by these difficult experiences. But among these 10 swords, there's also, you know, there's a 6 of swords. There's, you know, well, let's be honest, pretty much all of the swords are difficult cards. But the reason that they're difficult is because they are thoughts. It's the intellect, and thoughts get in our way. Thoughts don't actually open doors for us. Thoughts hold us back. Thoughts are more often than not attached to fear, right? So it makes sense that they're, you know, swords are difficult cards, you know, in many ways. At least in the minor arcana. So anyway, I think that's self-explanatory. And, you know, what do we build out of this new thing? What's the opportunity that we have here, which is also the central card of our spread? We have the 3 of Pentacles, and this is knowing that we can't go it alone. We require community. We have our talent. This is us here. I mean, maybe you relate to one of the others, but this is in generally how we see ourselves. And, you know, this is the builder. But, you know, the builder needs the architect and the, I don't know what, but, you know, the contractor, let's say. And, you know, that is the notion of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, if you're Christian. I mean, even in paganism, like, you can adapt that to, you know, mind, body, and soul. And, you know, these things can't exist without each other. And if they do, if we are too much in our minds, you know, we will feel like this all the time, right? So it's time for us to prioritize that, which often means not so much, well, it is compromise, but compromise is not such a negative thing when we are choosing it, you know, rather than feeling that it's imposed upon us. And of course, having community, having that broader sense of connection with even those that we can't imagine being connected to, puts us in a state of mind of contemplation and choice. You know, we look at what we've accomplished thus far. We look at the stories that we've told ourselves thus far. We look at the experiences that we've had and how they intertwine with those stories and how authentic the stories, the narratives actually are to the experience, you know? And that's what this person is really doing. So that's what we're moving into at the moment, you know? In order for us to really, truly going forth, make decisions based on what we love and what is in divine alignment. You know, this is the masculine and feminine in divinity. This is, there's purity here. There's an open flow from source, you know? So those choices are what we love. And by the way, I know you can see that nasty wound on my hand. I was doing gardening and the, well, you don't need to know, but whatever. Not only did I do that, but I also like stabbed myself with the top of an agave plant, which was extremely painful because it went really deep into my hand and was bleeding profusely. And for 2 days, I barely could move my hand. It was very uncomfortable. Anyway, these little things that happen in life, I generally experience as being reminders of our fragility, reminders that we have to pay attention to what we're doing, and reminders that of our place in the world, you know, because if a plant can do that to us, then I guess the moral of the story is to go about our business more cautiously and consciously. Actually, forget cautiously, consciously. Okay, so moving into our upcoming future energies, we leave behind the 10 of Wands. That's it, upright, just to give you the visual to remind you. Came out reversed, so it's a good thing. Because, you know, the 10 of Swords, and let's not forget it came under the 10 of Swords, you know, this is being overwhelmed by the ideas, you know, feeling that the ideas and thoughts that we have adhered to are, you know, we've kind of reached being at our wits' end, and that they're not serving us anymore. They're restricting us rather than liberating us. So that Tower liberates us from that. So what we then move into, this is, you know, the Wands are inspiration. They are the expansiveness into the outside world. So, you know, by dropping those old stories and limitations, we also drop the energy that's anchoring us into that negative flow. And this puts us into Queen of Swords energy. They came out together. So Queen of Swords, or it could also be that Queen of Swords is also the energy that's allowing us to move beyond those restrictions, you know, which is going out into the world, knowing our quiet boundaries, knowing how to assert ourselves, and also giving ourselves the opportunities that we deserve, but in the process of doing so, also empowering other people. You know, the positive aspects of the Queen of Swords are that because she knows her truth, because she knows her ideas, you know, she doesn't have to be a fighting bitch. You know, she can be, she can allow her knowledge to serve other people, even if they don't acknowledge what they're receiving. And dropping these stories obviously opens us up to the great, well, one could call it an abyss. I don't think that's probably a very positive way to view it, but open space, let's just say, you know, like, you know, which can be terrifying. You know, when you haven't filled space, it can be quite terrifying to be faced with, you know, the unknown, the uncharted, the great beyond. The great beyond from anything that we already know. You know what I mean? So we come into the moon energy, and of course we also have the full moon in, I think it's in Virgo. God, I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure it is. Anyway, we come into this full moon energy, and we talk about this, you know, actually it often comes up at the time of the full moon, this card. So, you know, remind ourselves of what this is. You know, the moon and the sun are there to empower us on this journey forth, the journey of the unknown, you know, but we have a choice. There's the tame and perhaps more anchored dog, or there's the wolf call, you know, of madness, of disarray, of feeling out of control. And, you know, to be the dog as opposed to the wolf is to surrender to divinity, to divine order. You know, and here's our subconscious mind, like, you know, just waiting to, you know, probably snap away at that wolf, to be perfectly honest with you. Whereas the dog, you know, the dog is just gonna run on that path, you know. And making that choice, being aware, consciously aware of that duality of the choice. You know, again, a lot of what we've talked about is acknowledging the circumstances and then having the foresight to be able to understand that we will influence our experience based on the choices we make. And of course, therefore, it makes sense to always go for the lover's choice rather than the Two of Swords choice, right? Go for what you love and go for what allows you to be in love and to express love to others. And by making that choice, our outcome is that we overturn two very difficult energies in our life. Poverty consciousness, being stuck, not thinking that there's anything more for us out there than what we have, and so we hold tight to that. That's going out the window. And our codependency and our triggers, they also get vanquished in that process. So the lesson of the week is for us to prepare for this full moon, for which marks, then our processing of everything as we move towards the next new moon. That's how the moon cycles work. Then we let go of that and we have the opportunity to receive the fertile gifts. And of course, in turn, exchanging those with our community. Okay, so that's our tarot for the week. I'm putting the cards aside because I need room for the 3 Osho Zen tarot cards, and then we will be done. So bear with me, just a few more minutes of your time. I hope this is helpful for you because I think that we're getting some really, really important messages at the moment. And my viewership is dwindling, which probably is actually a sign that what I'm doing is more authentic, because it's hard for people to face themselves. And that's what this allows us to do, right? It's a way of exchanging in that way. Let me just take a sip of water. Okay. So our first card is Existence, which is number 1 in this deck and would be the Magician. Obviously you see this person sitting on the I don't know what that is, a lily, whatever that's called, blah blah blah. I'm not, I always expose myself for being a poor naturist in these moments. But anyway, the person's in wonderment as she stares out at the universe. And the card is called Existence here. So let's read what Existence has to say to us. You are not accidental. Existence needs you. Without you, something would be missing in existence and nobody can replace it. That's what gives you dignity, that the whole existence will miss you. The stars and sun and moon, the trees and birds and earth. Everything in the universe will feel a small place is vacant, which cannot be filled by anybody except you. This gives you a tremendous joy, a fulfillment that you are related to existence, and existence cares for you. Once you are clean and clear, you can see tremendous love falling on you from all dimensions. So that's the gift that we receive for doing the work that we are in the process of doing, right? This naked figure sits on the lotus leaf. It was a lotus leaf, that's what I was trying to say. Yes, as if I didn't know that. Oh dear. This naked figure sits on the lotus leaf of perfection, gazing at the beauty of the night sky. She knows that home is not a physical place in the outside world, but an inner quality of relaxation and acceptance. The stars, the rocks, the trees, the flowers, fish, and birds, all are our brothers and sisters in this dance of life. We human beings tend to forget this as we pursue our own private agendas and believe we must fight to get what we need. But ultimately, our sense of separateness is just an illusion manufactured by the narrow preoccupations of the mind. Now is the time to look at whether you are allowing yourself to receive the extraordinary gift of feeling at home wherever you are. If you are, be sure to take time to savor it so it can deepen and remain with you. If, on the other hand, you've been feeling like the world is out to get you, it's time to take a break. Go outside tonight and look at the stars. Next, we received the Lovers. And I'm going to read the message in full from the Lovers because it has a different meaning in this deck and gives us more insight than what we are accustomed to in the traditional tarot. These three things are to be taken note of. The lowest love is sex, it is physical, and the highest refinement of love is compassion. Sex is below love, compassion is above love. Love is exactly in the middle. Very few people know what love is. 99% of people, unfortunately, think sexuality is love. It is not. Sexuality is very animal. It certainly has the potential of growing into love, but it is not actual love, only a potential. If you become aware and alert, meditative, then sex can be transformed into love. And if your meditativeness becomes total absolute love, if your meditativeness becomes total and absolute, love can be transformed into compassion. Sex is the seed, love is the flower, compassion is the fragrance. Buddha has defined compassion as love plus meditation. When your love is not just a desire for the other, when your love is not only a need, when your love is a sharing, when your love is not that of a beggar but an emperor, when your love is not asking for something in return but is ready only to give for the sheer joy of giving, then add meditation to it and the pure fragrance is released. That is compassion. Compassion is the highest phenomenon. So much of the message this week, as you can see, is about giving and receiving and what that means and how difficult that is for us to do one or the other, depending on how much we're in our ego or how much we're not, you know? What we call love is really a whole spectrum of relating, reaching from the earth to the sky. At the most earthy level, love is sexual attraction. Many of us remain stuck there because our conditioning has burdened our sexuality with all kinds of expectations and repressions, particularly in this pornographied society, right? Actually, the biggest problem with sexual love is that it never lasts. Only if we accept this fact can we then really celebrate it for what it is, welcome its happening, and say goodbye with gratitude when it's not. Then as we mature, we can begin to experience the love that exists beyond sexuality and honors the unique individuality of the other. We begin to understand that our partner often functions as a mirror, reflecting unseen aspects of our deeper self and supporting us to become whole. This love is based in freedom, not expectation or need. Its wings take us higher and higher towards the universal love that experiences all as one. Woo! That is something that we could all probably take a long, long period of time to contemplate. So I'll just give you that image one more time. Mirrors, mirror souls. And finally, probably an essential part of what we were just talking about, we get compromise. This is the Six of Pentacles in the regular deck, which, you know, the Six of Pentacles is the idea that we have enough to give. When our cup is full, we give the overflow to those around us, right? So that's the compromise, I guess. So let's read what compromise has for us. Don't be clever, otherwise you will remain the same. You will not change. That is very true, right? Only a fool thinks he knows. Half techniques on the path of love and half techniques on the path of meditation will create much confusion in you. This really is the logical successor to the previous card. They will not help, but to ask for help is against the ego, so you try to compromise. This compromise will be more dangerous. It will confuse you more because made out of confusion, it will create more confusion. So try to understand why you hanker for compromise. Sooner or later, you will be able to understand that compromise is not going to help, and compromise may be a way of not going in either direction, or it may be just a repression of your confusion. It will assert itself. Never repress anything. Be clear-cut about your situation, and if you are confused, remember that you are confused. This will be the first clear-cut thing about you, that you are confused. You have started on the journey. Now, what I would like to add before I read the rest of the commentary on this card is that, when you come from a place of love, being clear-cut is not an aggressive tactic, because you're coming from a place of love, so it won't be received that way. And if it is, then that's the other person's issue to figure out, and that's a hard one for us to understand sometimes, because our ego wants gratification from what we put out into the world. In the courts of ancient Japan, the male attendants were often selected from the ranks of petty criminals who were castrated. Because of their intimate familiarity with the activities of the court, they were often at the center of the political and social intrigues and exercised a great deal of power behind the scenes. The two figures on this card remind us of the sleazy and conspiratorial situations we can get into when we compromise our own truth. It is one thing to meet another halfway, to understand a point of view different from our own and work towards a harmony of the opposing forces. It is quite another to cave in and betray our own truth. If we look deeply into it, we usually find that we are trying to gain something, whether it is power or the approval of others. If you are tempted, beware. The rewards of this kind of compromise always leave a bitter taste in the mouth. Yeah. So, I think that's something that we need to ponder individually, right? Because that's going to mean something different to all of us. Okay, I'm done. I'm going to go edit this together and upload it. I think that these messages are really helpful with the energies that we are all going to be experiencing in the week ahead. Blessings to all. Nothing to be afraid of, honestly. There really isn't. This is just a process. So if you're afraid of working on yourself, then that will be something you'll want to adjust. But if you're good with that flow, then you're in for some serious rewards down the line. So as we move towards those rewards, I send you all of my love, and I wish you a very successful, peaceful, and enjoyable week to come. Namaste.